Happy Sunday. Happy Father's Day. I don't know if I have any fathers out there watching me, but if I do, I hope you have a great day and you get treated something to a little special. Here in Arizona, it's going to be 110 today in Tucson, which means it's even warmer in Phoenix. I don't think there's going to be that many outdoor barbecues today, but hopefully you'll have a nice meal and a nice day, spending the day either with your kids or doing something you enjoy. Anyways, happy Father's Day. Let's see, today, it's week 24 already. We're going to draw our cards. We're going to see what we're going to make this week. See what we have to work with. I'm excited to see what new thing we have. And I'm wearing last week's earrings. Those were a lot of fun. If you guys like these, I will put the design out in our group. So if you haven't already, join our Bead Stash Challengers group. And I will put out a graph with the design for these. And at least it's a components list. I know one person asked me about a kit. We'll see. I might be able to do a couple of them. I got to see what kind of the silver spacer beads I have. But I also finished my other one. So these were also a lot of fun. And just, as comparison, these also meet our criteria of our cards from last week. So just two different styles using the same beads, although I had white in this one. I did not have white in the other one. I added my metal bead onto my ear wire, but it has the skull, it has silver, it has metal, and it has Santa Fe colors, right? So what was our other card? Silver skulls, silver metal beads, yeah. And then we had the Santa Fe colors and our fringe. So, hey Janelda, thanks for joining me. So, just showing off, finished my pair. Very excited. I'm going to wear these for Day of the Dead, but you know what? I might wear them anyways because skulls are fun. But so I'll also share with you guys on our group. I will also make this pattern available in our group. So there is a files section in our group. There's not a whole lot of files in there, but I'm going to put these in there. So hopefully you will be able to see it. If you have any troubles, just let me know, and I will see what I can do about pulling up that file. But it was a lot of fun. I have not made fringe earrings before, so I think I am going to make more. I really had fun with that design. So, other announcements. Yeah, I read it as those. It's okay. Let's see. So today I am going to make a project with the SoftFlex Surfs Up kit from really last month, I guess, because they've already done the videos on it, and I haven't done anything with it. And I thought I'd make a necklace today, so I'm not going to use the cards with it today because I already, every once in a while you get some beads and you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm going to make this, right? So that's how I feel about this. The project came to me, so I don't need to use the cards to get me going or to change it up a little bit. I am going to just do that on my own. So anyways, let's get started. We're going to do a little leather knotting today. So I'm going to use leather to string my necklace. Oh, and I also wanted I want to apologize for Thursday's video. I realized that much of my work was off the screen, and I need to stay on top of that. I still struggle when I'm working with really small beads and with some of these things on trying to get things zoomed in well enough that you can see, but not, you know, keeping my hands where you can see them. But hopefully you got enough out of it. And those of you that have done seed beading, you know, I think if I share the design with you, you'll be able to make them on your own. So, but I'm working on it, right? I'm a work in progress. Let's get the camera flipped over and we'll attempt to zoom it a reasonable amount. I think that ought to be good, right? So, all right, let's draw our cards first, because we don't want to forget that. Let's see what we're gonna make. Yes, I know. Lorraine told me, and I tried to fix it. I think some of it got better, but like I said, I got to work on it. I was struggling a little bit with trying to keep track of the bead weaving, which I have to look really close on, and actually looking over at the comments. So, all right, so those of you that are new to Bead Stash Challenge, we have currently 5 decks out. So my make deck here has a combination of cards from all the decks that have make cards. They don't all have make cards. So the make cards are exactly that. They're going to tell us what we're going to make this week. Now, there's 24 cards, 23 cards missing from this deck because I started with the full deck at the beginning of the year, and then I take them out so that we get through everything. So there's a lot more. Anyways. Oh, so we're going to make a beaded sculpture this week. That's always fun. That'll be it. Yeah, we'll see what we're going to make with it. So, if you don't know what a beaded sculpture is, last time we drew this card, we made this cute little piggy. And we had to use pink, and, you know, he's super cute. We also have rabbits that you guys have made, and we have turkeys, and we have peacocks, and all that good stuff. So that's what I mean by beaded sculpture. But let's see what we're going to use to make our beaded sculpture. So again, the used cards are from all 5 of our decks. Getting a little low here. If you're playing along at home, you can draw as many or as few of these used cards as you want. The used cards tell you what you're going to pull out of your stash to make your beaded sculpture with, in this case. So I'm going to draw 3. Again, it's up to you how many you draw. But we are going to use copper in our design. Yeah. This box clasp really wants me. I am not going to put a box clasp in my sculpture, so we're going to put that one back in there. No offense to the box clasp, but I don't really need a clasp in my sculpture. We're going to use leather in our design. All right. And fiber or beading thread in our design. All right. We could probably make that work. I have no idea what I'm going to make, but we will see. So after today's show, what I will do is I will go back and I will pull out either probably copper wire, because I need some wire of some sorts. I'm going to look for my fiber beading thread or my leather. I can also use copper beads. So copper wire or copper beads. And they don't have to be made of copper. So, you can use the copper finish. You can use something that's just sort of that color. All those things are good. All right. So our third kind of cards are our challenge cards. And this is the cards that try to push your creativity a little more. Now, the combination of use cards can push your creativity. The mate cards can push your creativity if you're asked to make something that you don't normally make. You know, some people like love to make earrings. I am one of those people. That used to be pretty much all I made. And then I got hooked on bracelets, so I started making bracelets. So I made lots of earrings and bracelets. And, you know, then I make the occasional necklace. But, you know, you only can have so much jewelry, so you might as well use your beads to make other things. And that's where things like the beaded sculpture comes in. So anyways, okay, and we're going to design something inspired by a cactus. So our beaded sculpture is going to be inspired by a cactus. Well, that'll be fun. I think I'll look forward to that. So anyways, as I said, these challenge cards, so it's either a theme for your design or it can be some sort of design aspect to keep you thinking a little bit. Keep you thinking about your design and maybe consider something that you wouldn't normally do. So let's put those aside. Let's take a look at our project for the day. So SoftFlex puts out monthly kits if you're not familiar with them. And they usually have a bead strand that goes along with it, and we're actually going to pull a couple beads off this additional bead strand. I'm not going to use everything that's in the kit, but because there are some other bead mixes, there's some beading wire, there's some charms, and some other things, which we will use in the future, but we're not going to use them today. I don't know, when I saw this focal, which is a lot of fun, ammonites are always fun, and then these are, I think they said they're bamboo, but they're just kind of a fun design, so we're going to use those, and they have pretty large holes in them. This has a large hole, and that's why I'm going to use leather. So I pulled out this natural dye turquoise leather, but I think it's a good match to the blue in here and the color in the strand. So let's go ahead and take this apart because I want to use two. In particular, I want two of these beads on this strand. And why are you not? There. So I thought I might try to incorporate these brass brass beads here. So I'm really not going to use any of that. And then I was trying to decide if I could get more sort of a turquoise-ish or blue. Now, so what I'm envisioning is that I will use this. This is 1.5mm leather, which I use for most of my projects just because it's thick enough that you can do a lot of things with it without having to be too concerned that it's going to break easily. And it's thin enough that it'll fit through a lot of beads. So, you know, as I make this, I'm going to put a knot between each bead, so it's going to add this additional color. And we don't necessarily have to use these, but we'll lay them out and see. And then I was looking at some other large hole beads that I had in my stash, and I was trying to see if I needed something. I think that's a little busy, personally. But I do have some sort of teal colored pearls. Actually, I think those work pretty good. Or I have sea glass, which would also work. So, and I had these other larger, pull them out. I think these are called Rollo beads, but they're kind of blue with a copper middle, which I don't know if that gets me too many, so I have brass and copper, so. What do you think? Should I use the pearls, the sea glass, or these copper beads? So, what do you, I'll let you give me some votes on that. And then I'm going to use a button closure. And so I have this glass antique German button that I got from a recent Stars Beads Friday Night Live with Suzanne and the button lady. I think she's Linda. I forget what the lady. Or I have a Monstera leaf in brass. So, you like the sea glass? I like the sea glass too. I think they all would have worked. All right, what do you think button-wise? So, leaf or round? I don't know what this design is, but I just thought it was kind of fun. And then I'm going to, in the meantime, measure out my leather. So, if you're doing a lot of knotting, we're going to do barrel knots today. Let's see, you need about 3 times the length of whatever it is that you're making. And you probably, more is better because you can't really add it in. So if I wanted to make like a 18-inch, let me see what length necklace I want to make. All right, so yeah, I'm looking at about an 18-inch necklace. So if I do 3 times that, so that's what, 3.5, 3.5 yard, or 4.5 feet. Yes, right. All right, we'll just do longer that way. Right, there's 3. Like I said, you always want more. 4. And right. All right. So we're using slightly over 4.5 feet. We'll see how that works. Do you like the leaf? I do like the leaf too. All right. So let's take some of the sea glass off here. So when you're working with leather and knotting, you know, some of your sizing can be a challenge. So, you know, one way is to start with the button and then just work your design until you get, you know, like halfway. So I'm looking to make an 18-inch necklace, so I can start at one end and make my design. And this button, or this focal, is, all right, from hole to hole, it's about 1.5 inches. So like I said, there's 2 ways you can do this since I'm doing knotting, and I'm going to do knots on either side of this. One is I can put the focal in the middle of the leather, and then I can go out in both directions. Or I can put the button on, measure, and only go in one direction. So if you're very concerned that it be in the middle, I would suggest doing the middle and then doing a knot on each side. So, you know, some people, I could certainly make a focal and hang it down, but I just thought it would be kind of fun to actually hang that focal sideways on the leather. Do a slightly different look here. All right, so I'm going to do the middle and work my way out, which actually can make the putting the button on a little bit of a challenge, but we'll work with that. It may just mean it has to involve glue. All right, so now I want to put a barrel knot on each side of this. So let's take one side, and I'm going to use this knotting tool. This is a rosary knotting tool. I get these from T-Beads. Tammy Kerber runs T-Beads out of Florida. She does gem shows, as well as she has both a Facebook sales page, which is called T-Beads Marketplace, that you can join, and she sells these. They're only like $5 or something, and they're really, really good for making knots. She also has a little video that shows you how to use them. So we're going to use this today. Now, you can also use the, a lot of people use a tube, so I'll show that too. Hey Lorraine, thanks for joining us. We are making a little necklace, or a beachy necklace today. So what I want to do is I'm going to put this next to my leather, and then I'm going to wrap it, and then I'm going backwards and wrap it 3 times. And then there's a little slot that you stick the leather through. It's a long piece, so it's knotting up a little bit. All right, stop that. There we go. And then I'm going to slide this off the end. Since this is my first one, all I have to do is really tighten it and just kind of hold the knot so that it doesn't pull in on itself. And then you can pull it good and tight. And there we have our knot on one side. Now, let's get the other one. You want it close to your piece here. So what I'm going to do, again, is I'm going to just put my tool back here, put my leather there, and I'm going to wrap 3 times. And I'm close in, but I'm not directly next to it, so don't worry about that. Pull this leather through, and then once again, you're going to hold on to that knot. Now, I'm going to hold on to it with my left hand, and I'm going to tighten it by pulling this lightly, and at the same time, I'm kind of pushing this knot back towards my bead here, and you push it in, and it's nice and tight there, because I actually don't want this to move around. I don't want it to spin around. I want it just sort of in that same direction. So there's our first knot. And now we can go either direction, but we're going to be doing that, sliding it in tight next to our beads. Now, let's see. So I have these two that, I don't know if I want to put those directly next to it. And you know what? I'm not actually even convinced that I want to use those. What do you guys think? Should I incorporate these? But maybe I'll put one of these on first. I will bring that orange in next to it. All right, so if you don't have one of these tools, but you do have one of these tubes, let's look at that. And it works basically the same way. So you're going to lay the tube next to the leather and up close to the bead. You're going to wrap your leather around the bead or the tube. And I will say sometimes I use the tubes because the other one gets awkward, but they both work. And then you stick the leather through the tube, and then you pull the tube out, pull it off the end of the leather, and it's the same thing as if you pulled it off the end. So again, I'm going to tighten it, and at the same time I'm making sure my knot doesn't slip up on itself, and we're scooching it back against the bead. And since I start in the middle, I think I'm gonna, I'm gonna go back and forth. We're gonna do one side. Now, I know some people want to make sure all their knots go in the same directions. I don't think my knots do, and you know what? I don't worry about it too much. Yeah, so Lorraine, these beads were from the SoftFlex Surfs Up kit. And they're pretty cool. They're, not something I probably would have chosen out, right out, but they are kind of beachy. All right. Now, you don't have to have a tool to make barrel knots, but I tell you, the tool makes it tons easier. So what do you think? Let's put this on here and see whether we like it. Do you think I should use that bead or not? See if I can. Stop that. Just going in a little bit more. Try not to. So let me show you up close what this bead looks like. Do you guys think I should use these beads or just alternate these and these? Okay, Janelle likes the bead. Like I said, I thought they were fun. Sometimes when you lay them out, it. All right, looks like I have a second vote for it. All right, let's go back to using this tool a minute, just to again show how this works. We're putting it up against the wire. If you have troubles holding on to the small tube, this tool is helpful. Okay, now see, I got it a little far out this time, so I do have to be careful that I carefully push my knot back. Now the good news, if I change my mind right now, I can I can take it off and untie it, but you know, it is a little messy to do that, and sometimes you can like scratch up your leather or all right. You're terrible. You know, they do take practice, and like I said, using either the tube or the tool, I think makes life much easier, because it's like I said, I can make them by hand, but it takes me about 3 times as long probably. All right, so there's, you know, one part. Now, you know, if you wanted to not make a bunch of knots, but I had planned to make the whole thing leather, you could, you know, just go out a ways, make a loop, and, you know, make the rest of it chain or something else. But what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to alternate these bamboo beads, and then now that I've used those, the rest will be the sea glass. So I haven't made up my mind whether the tube or the rosary tool is faster. Like I said, sometimes it's a little easier to get this tube close, but so I'm going to go ahead and put just a second bead on this side while we're over here. And I'm doing 3 wraps. You could just do 2. Sometimes, you know, if I'm running short on leather or I don't need a lot of length, I do just 2. And it still looks good. All right. Let's add to the other side, because, you know, we want to keep it even. And yes, I can only go in one direction here. I don't know. I'm right-handed, so. So you guys working on anything fun projects this week other than your bead stash challenges? Oops. I'm just knocking stuff all over the place. I always try to clean up my workspace, but it doesn't always work so well. I still have stuff everywhere around here. All right, might as well keep going on this side since I know I want to just, you know, match them up. I do like to use barrel knots just because I think they're they look nice. And like I said, in this case, I'm using a matching color of leather, so it adds some color to my design. So I know you guys have, you know, when you're making your projects and you are asked to use a color, you know, your bead, you know, you don't have to make that color with your beads. You can use it with your stringing material. And we'll be using leather this week in our design, so. My cactus sculpture, so we'll see how that goes. Or my cactus themed sculpture. So it's 110 here today. Hottest day of the year so far. So needless to say, I'm happy to stay inside and make things with you guys. All right, so that one I let slip. So now I have to adjust this a little. If your knot gets out of whack, don't worry about untying it and doing it again, because that happens. It's easier to fix now than have to go back and do the whole thing over if it gets awkward. But let's see how long we, all right, we got 11 inches, and we're gonna add an inch with our button and its closure. So we've got a few more to do. I made bracelets that are just barrel nuts, and I use like 3 different colors of leather. Those are a lot of fun to make. Maybe we'll pull that design out again one of these days. And you just remember, these barrel nuts, they will eat up your leather, so make sure you have plenty. Hyperlinks Pink Hope pendant and earring. Oh, okay. Well, that's sweet. Hope she's doing well. Her treatments are going okay if she started them. I have multiple family members that have had breast cancer, so it is not fun, but and I will say something I haven't figured out, although it, you know, I'm sure I could, but how, you know, if you're trying to plan out a project with leather and beads and assume that you're doing a certain size, not, you know, how many beads do you need to get the length you want? Oh, okay. Well, that's a tough time. The chemo, yeah. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Wow, that was early, Lorraine. Congratulations. So we may be finding out here what happens when you cut your leather too short. In fact, I'm just going to do a two looper here. Because I think I either have to put the button on there or something else. All right, let's make sure we get the other side even. And there we go. So for an 18-inch necklace, my 4.5 feet are not gonna make it, I don't think so. So I only did a 2 looper on the other one. We're gonna do a 2 looper on this side. So all right, I'm gonna hold this up on myself just to see how. Okay, I actually think I might be able to make this work. So we're gonna put the button on this side because it's my string is shorter. So this one's a little tougher to do the knot, but we are going to, so I'm going to put the one side on there. Next to the tool, and we are going to try to wrap around, but it's not going to be able to do a full barrel knot here. So you're just going to tie a knot because it's too short. And you know what I'm going to do when I'm get down there is I'm going to put some glue on that because I don't trust that it won't come out. And let's see. Nope, this is not a huge button, so we can get our loop there. All right, so putting my leather against there, I'm going to wrap it this way, I think. And I'm going to push it through. I know you guys can't see what it, see if I, now, you know, since this is a necklace, it doesn't have to be quite as precise, but, you know, I don't want it too big because I don't want it to come off, right? So that's definitely looks like it'll work. All right. Now I'm going to pull this tight. Now, because these kind of end up being slip knots, that's why I'm going to end up putting leather or glue in there. But here we go. What do you guys think? Is it a fun necklace? Let's see if it fits. And if it's too short, then I'll be glad that I didn't glue it yet. All right, I'm gonna flip this up. Come on. There we go. It's a little smaller than I wanted, but you know what? Leather will stretch a little. It's a little much with my earrings, but I think it's wearable. You know, like I said, leather will stretch a little, but and you don't really want to get it wet. It'll stretch faster, but it's all good. It's not bad. All right, so note to self. So for an 18-inch approximate necklace, I used a little over 4.5 feet of leather, and it was barely enough. So I would say 5 to 6 feet of leather would be what I would recommend if you're going to do a barrel knot necklace with leather. So anyways, thought that would be a little something different today. And like I said, I hadn't touched my kit yet because we've been playing with our desert Southwest stuff. So, all right, on Thursday, yeah, 5 feet would have been close. Like I said, I probably should have used closer to 6. So, because I originally was thinking I would put two different loops back there for my, although I wasn't really thinking about it correctly, that I was going to make it a little bit adjustable, but like I said, it fits. It's just more of a choker. I wanted it kind of down here. So, what size is the? It's 1.5 millimeter. I tend to use 1.5 millimeter for most of my projects. Sometimes I'll use you know, like 2 if I'm using chunkier beads. But I find if you really don't want to own a lot of leather, that 1.5 really is the best for your projects. So it'll fit most things, and it makes a nice knot. You know, if you're doing small things and working with 1 millimeter leather, that's fine too, but you have to be really careful because me, I get a little overly strong when I'm pulling my knots, and I've broken my leather before and had to start over if I'm using 1 millimeter leather. So it's not my favorite thing to use, but sometimes you have to, because with the beads, you know, 1 millimeter is all that fits. But anyways, that's my recommendation. And like I said, you know, either get, you know, some sort of a tube, or like I said, this tool These are only about $5. It's a rosary tool. So, you like the 1.5 or 2? Yeah, yeah, me too. But like I said, I use 1.5 more than I used to, but I do like 2mm leather, like I said, but it does come out chunky. So like if I'm making stuff for my husband, which I do occasionally with leather, I do use the 2mm just because it's a chunkier look on him. So, all right, so I will be figuring out what kind of beaded sculpture we're gonna make. I know that's backwards, but my beaded sculpture will have copper of some sorts in it. It will have fiber or thread in it. It will have leather, so we'll be using leather again. And it will be inspired by a cactus. So that will be interesting. So I'm thinking it won't be a critter this week, that it'll possibly be more like a cactus. So we shall see. Anyways, that's all I got today. Thanks again for joining me, and as always, appreciate all the likes and follows on Facebook and YouTube, or YouTube, if you could subscribe to it, that would be great. I think we're up to about 30. I still need 20 more before I can do live videos over there, but we're making progress slowly but surely. People are watching it, they just don't subscribe, and I get that because I watch a lot of people's stuff that I never subscribe to either, but you know, I try. It's hard to keep up with everything, but you know, maybe we'll get some new people. I get some names over there, and I don't know who they are, so that's actually good, because that means we're getting more people from other places. So again, appreciate all the love. I don't think the hearts work anymore. I still haven't figured out how to get them to work again. Whatever update it was. I don't know if I have to enable AI or what exactly I have to do, but anyways, one of these days I'll figure it out. All right, I hope you guys have a great week. Look forward to seeing what you're making. And if you're catching the replay, let me know you're out there. And, you know, feel free to post what you're working on. We want any post you make in our Bead Stash Challengers group, get you in for our monthly drawing. We will be doing our monthly giveaway drawing in early July, whatever our first Sunday or Thursday is there. And again, to all the fathers, hope you have a great Father's Day and an enjoyable week. We'll see you on Thursday.